Today, we are going to explore some of Lebanon's most popular tourist destinations, places in which evidence of past activity is preserved, to know what happened in the past and discover how life was in ancient days. Baalbek. Nothing is known of Baalbek prior to the Greek conquest of Syria. Initially, a Phoenician settlement dedicated to the worship of the deity of the sun Baal, Baalbek was known as Heliopolis, city of the sun, by the Greeks in the 4th century BC. After Alexander the Great's conquest of Persia in the 330s BC, Baalbek formed part of the Diadochi kingdoms of Egypt and Syria. It then fell to the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt, under which the town was called Heliopolis. It was during Roman times that Baalbek reached especially grew, being annexed and thus becoming a Roman colony in 47 BC under Julius Caesar. Over the next 2 centuries, the Romans would imbue Baalbek with the empire's largest holy temples. By 150 AD, it would be home to the vast temples of Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus. The city passed into Byzantine hands and was then occupied by the Muslim army in 634 AD, coming under Arab domination in 637 AD. The ruins of Baalbek first came to European attention in the 16th century. Thought much of the area had been destroyed by earthquakes, between 1898 and 1903, a German expedition excavated the 2 Roman temples and began to reconstruct the ruins. From the 20th century, the city was administered by various Muslim rulers of Syria. After the First World War, the French mandatory authorities included Baalbek in Lebanon. Reconstruction stagnated until the end of Lebanon's civil war, with preservation and resultant tourism growing from the 1990s onwards. The archaeological site of Baalbek represents a religious complex of outstanding artistic value and its majestic monumental ensemble. It's a unique artistic creation which reflects the amalgamation of the Phoenician beliefs with the gods of the Greco-Roman pantheon through an amazing stylistic metamorphosis. The Temple of Jupiter, principal temple of the Baalbek Triad, was remarkable for its 20 meters high columns that surrounded the cella and the gigantic stones of its terrace. The adjacent temple, dedicated to Bacchus, is exceptional. It is richly decorated and of impressive dimensions, with its monumental gates sculpted with Bashik figures. The round temple, or Temple of Venus, differs in its originality of layout as well as its refinement and harmonious forms, in a city where other sanctuaries are marked by monumental structures. The only remaining vestige of the Temple of Mercury, located on Sheikh Abdullah Hill, is a stairway carved from the rock. The Odeon, located south from the Acropolis in a place known as Bustan al-Khan, is also part of the Baalbek site and considered among the most spectacular archaeological sites of the Near East. Bet Din, Syriac origin, Beddino, meaning house of judgment. In the Middle Ages, Lebanon was divided up into fiefs governed by emirs or hereditary sheikhs. But in the early years of the 17th century, Emir Fakhreddin II succeeded in extending his power throughout these princedoms and eventually ruled an area corresponding to present-day Lebanon. His first capital was at Ba'lin, but because of a chronic water shortage, he was forced to move to Deir el-Amar, where there were copious springs. When the Ma'an dynasty died out at the end of the 17th century, the land was inherited by the emirs of the Shihab family. It was Emir Bashir Shihab II who decided to leave Deir el-Amar and to construct his own palace at Bet Din, a Druze hermitage which today is part of the palace. In 1812, Emir Bashir obliged each of his able-bodied male subjects to provide 2 days of unpaid labor in order to ensure a plentiful supply of water at his new seat of government. Within 2 years, the project was completed. The palace remained the emir's residence until his forced exile in 1840. After the Ottomans suppressed the emirate in 1842, the building was used by the Ottoman authorities as the government residence. Later, under the French mandate following the First World War, it was used for local administrative purposes. The General Directorate of Antiquities carefully restored Bet el-Din to its original grandeur after it was declared a historic monument in 1934. Beginning in 1943, the year of Lebanon's independence, the palace became the summer residence of the president. Bashar al-Khoury was the first president to use Bet el-Din as he brought back the remains of Emir Bashir from Istanbul, where he had died in 1850. Today, Bet el-Din, with its museums and its gardens, is one of Lebanon's major tourist attractions. Qualified guides are available for your tour through this monument, which is open daily. A visit to Bet el-Din is ideally combined with nearby Deir el-Qamar. Musa Palace is a Lebanese landmark located on a hill between Deir el-Qamar and Bet el-Din. This castle hides an interesting story behind it. Musa Castle is the vision of Musa Abdel Karim al-Ma'mari, who was born in 1931. When he was a teenager, Musa was obsessed with the architecture of Middle Ages. He always dreamed of building a castle with his own hands. At 14 years old, he fell in love with a girl named Sayyida. His crush, who belongs to a wealthy family, told Musa that he could talk to her when he owns a palace. During art class, his teacher assigned the students to draw a bird and a tree. Instead, Musa drew a castle in which he and Sayyida would live. The teacher, whose name was Anwar, thought that Musa was mocking him by not following the instruction. So he beat him with a cane and tore up the drawing. The young dreamer picked up the pieces and left. Building the castle became a challenge as much as a dream. Ma'mari left school at 14 and went to Saydoun in southern Lebanon, where he worked with his uncle in restoring the city's crusader fortress. He was tasked by Emir Maurice Shihab, the head of Lebanon's Antiquities Department, to renovate castles and archaeological discoveries, including at Bet el-Din Palace. I love how we see Christians here and Muslims here. With money saved from his work, he bought land where he planned to build his castle. Ma'mari began to put his plan into action in 1963, moving more than 6,000 huge rocks, some of them weighing 150 kilograms, to the castle site. Musa Ma'mari carved every stone and sculpted the figurines and the statues representing various scenes of Lebanese village life from the 19th century. Today, the castle is a museum that recounts Lebanese heritage across ages, showing the simple life in the villages and designed to teach Lebanese children about heritage and traditions. The statues that Musa sculpted are those of village people that he has known and who were part of his life. After crossing a bridge leading to the entrance of the two-level castle, visitors step into a large space where scenes of bygone time are represented. The models are full of life. There are scenes of a woman grinding wheat, a man sewing clothes, another riding a donkey, a blacksmith working, and a woman serving coffee to men in a diwan. The ground floor includes a scene of the Last Supper, depicting Jesus and his disciples, as well as hydraulically movable figurines performing various crafts and manual activities as reminders of Lebanese heritage. In a corner, the tools used by Ma'mari while carving the stones are displayed. The fort features a museum of ancient weapons that exhibits some 18,000 pieces, including rifles, daggers, swords, pikes, and bayonets. There's so many guns, so many. يلا منخلص نهار